Hello, and welcome to A VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica, and as always, this show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. It is the 6th of December. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, but I am super excited to be doing another one and, going full circle. We're going to be chatting today about something that launched my career and is the platform that consistently since I started in 2017 has gotten more hate and more visceral reactions and attacks than any other platform in the VO industry, and that is Fiverr. We're going to talk about Fiverr, where Fiverr is right now. Is it a place for you to still make money? And what am I doing right now with Fiverr? So let's get into this thing. Let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
All right. It is so good to be chatting with you all again. I love doing podcasting, and yet I've been doing it so little. And I do apologize. I've had so many people over the years reach out and just talk about the podcast, and I really do appreciate it. This podcast has been the thing that I think has been a catalyst for a lot in my voiceover business. And, moving forward, I still want it to be that. So I think, with it being December of 2023 and, getting to that place where looking over the past couple of years, coming out of COVID, and everything, and seeing where we are right now, the voiceover industry is definitely, it's booming along. We're head to head doing battle with AI. We're head to head doing battle with technology, doing battle with, the retractions in society, doing battle with, different organizations going on strike, doing battle with every single thing, that we are, that we are experiencing, right, puts a lot of weight on us. And, I was laying in bed last night and I was thinking to myself, there is a lot of fear and doubt in our lives and in the world. And, can you imagine what our lives would look like without fear and doubt? Going a little philosophical right now, but we have a lot of fear and doubt about our business, about the success. Are we going to get a voiceover? Are we going to make it? Are we going to have enough money? Are we going to be able to survive? Are we going to be able to make it? Pay our bills, just get the next gig. There's a lot of fear and doubt. And I don't know. If we could just look and to ourselves and constantly push the boundaries of fear and doubt, meaning, screw it. Screw fear and doubt. You know what I mean? Screw it. Let it do its worst and we'll do ours. Right? I think that's the bit, that's it right there. If you're facing a storm, and it's doing its worst against you, you look back in that storm and say, you know what, screw you. I'm going to do my worst too. And the chips will fall where they may, but I'm not going to back down. And I think it's more important now than ever that we don't back down. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Fiverr today is because, I got to get real with you guys. So for a while, I think, especially when I started, Fiverr was a godsend for me. I was able to start getting voiceover work. I started making really great money. I was making, I started making a couple $100 a month. Then I started making $1,000 a month, and a couple $1,000s a month, and $5,000 or $6,000 a month, and 10, 11, $12,000 a month. I mean, it was amazing. Then I kept hearing, though, more and more as I talked more and more about my excitement for the platform, so many people's anger for the platform. You know what I mean? And it wasn't about it wasn't about the work on the platform. It wasn't about the platform itself, the functionality. It was about pricing, people's frustration with the pricing. And, at that point, I had just started in voiceover, especially the first couple of years, and I didn't, I didn't know the history of a lot of things. I didn't know, how a lot of the rest of the industry worked. You know what I mean? I mean, I was part of that. I think I was part of that newer wave of voice actors who come in who was, more used to, excuse me, more used to technology, more used to working through technology. And, that's how we were getting our voiceover work. And it seemed perfectly legit. You know what I mean? Fiverr, ACX, Upwork, then going on to like Voices and Voice 123 and, Voice Realm and Voquin came out and all these websites to get work. And Fiverr, for me and my business, was always number one. It was always the center. And as time went on, I wouldn't say I fought. I didn't fight people, but I definitely spoke out about my views on Fiverr and how I'm pro Fiverr and I believe in it because from my and it's a small point of view, and I know that. But from my vantage point, all of the voice actors I had worked with, all the people I'd seen, my personal experiences, as you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, my life was changed because of Fiverr. I mean, my life totally changed. My whole world changed. And I say it because I was able to grow a massive business and make a lot of money on Fiverr. But over time, it got more and more, oh, well, if you want to do this, you need to move away from Fiverr. If you need to do this, you need to stop talking about Fiverr. And you need to, I've done so many things. I used to have Fiverr Fridays where I would go live. I must have done, I don't know, like 70, 80 of the Fiverr Fridays. So every Friday I would go live, for an hour and a half and talk about, whatever topic that week was on Fiverr. And then I'd take questions, and it wasn't always about Fiverr, it was about voiceover, but a lot of it was about revolving around Fiverr because it was such a big part of my business. But over time, as I grew, especially with the academy, and things like that, I was concerned with more and more, people in my ear and things, hey, if there's some people there's a lot of people who just don't really like Fiverr, we want to stay away from, stop talking about Fiverr, et cetera, et cetera. And to an extent, I can see where a lot of people are put off by it because one, there's a lot of the industry who talks bad about Fiverr, two, the tradition of the voiceover industry does not price itself like Fiverr prices things, right? Fiverr prices things totally different. It innovated, it took something that was done a certain way for years and years and decades, right? And upended it by creating more of a product-based approach to purchasing a voiceover, meaning that you could be sleeping and someone goes on to your Fiverr account and purchases a voiceover, and you wake up in the morning and you've got a voiceover in your queue, right? And the money's sitting in an escrow account, and you do the voiceover, you deliver it, and the money's posted into your account. And I mean, it's it's such a more, I hate to say it, a more Amazon way of doing business. I mean, from a product standpoint, a purchasing standpoint, and a great platform. I mean, the platform itself is fantastic. It really is. Of all the platforms I'm on all of them. I've been on all of them, right? Fiverr still to me has the best interface or an activity platform. It works the best. I mean, it's fantastic. But I think that because of that, there was still a lot of pressure and I think for me, I started to shy away from it after 4 or 5 years. Stopped talking about it as much. And I thought, I want to branch out and grow my business beyond the platform. And I had, of course, but I mean, I wanted to venture out and get into other circles and try other things and grow in voiceover. And I've done that, and I've built my website, and I've grown, and I've redone it like 10 times, my personal voiceover website. You can go check it out, anthonypicavo.com, the current iteration of it. And of course, I've built VO's Journey Elite Academy, which started off as a mastermind group, and then it turned into we actually called it Fiverr Elite. It was Fiverr Elite for a long period of time. You know what I mean? And we moved away from that and turned it into Academy because I wanted to broaden the horizons of it. I wanted to focus on acting, and I wanted to focus on tech, and I wanted to focus on a variety of different things, not just growing a business on Fiverr. So we branched out about from that. It's just an interesting kind of entomology, right? I mean, if you look at the beginning of where we started and where we are now. But what's cool to me though, in doing all this and all the stuff I just said, to this day, and I still make the majority of my money through Fiverr. I mean, it's incredible how the platform still produces in the midst of everything that is going on and the battles and the struggles that we were all fighting, right? I still am making, I think at this point it's more close. It's not over 6 figures on Fiverr, but it's close. A year on Fiverr for voiceover. It's amazing. The platform is still the best platform to get consistent voiceover work, all right, without auditioning anywhere. And now for me, as you guys know, I started off on Fiverr for a couple years. I think I charged $5 for 100, 150 words. And, this was fine. I'll never forget the first time I had a conversation with my wife about when I was first starting in 2017. I said, I don't know what to charge. What do I charge for this stuff? And then she was like, well, what do you get paid an hour for working right now as a teacher? And I think at the time it was like $25-$30. So I did the math, right? And I said, okay, well, if I make, we'll just say I make $30 an hour. I think it was more like 25, but we'll use $30, make it even easier. So if I had $30 an hour, I think something like that. And if you divide that by, right, like a few increments of 5 or 10 minutes, let's say 10 minutes. So let's say, for you get a job for 100 words, right? And it takes you 10 minutes to do that, which it should only take you 10 minutes to do a 100-word job. And it's at $5, right? So if you do 10 minutes and that's divided, at 60, that's 6, right? So you technically could do 6 voiceovers in an hour, right? Each are 10 minutes long. And if that's $5, that was $30. And I was like, well, that's what I make. I mean, it's a good, I'm going to just charge that. And then, I learned about commercial and broadcast rights. I was like, oh, I can actually make more an hour by charging, if they need commercial rights or broadcast rights. So, I charge that. And, this worked out great. I mean, my first year, I didn't get a lot of work on Fiverr because I was just starting out. I got more work on ACX, of course, a lot more work because I did audiobooks nonstop. And then my first Halloween on Fiverr is when I started getting a lot of more voiceover work, because at the time there wasn't like scary voices or anything up there. And I thought, oh, this would be really cool to put up like a Halloween scary voice gig up on Fiverr. And that turned out really well. I did panic rooms, I did marching band stuff, I did people's Halloween parties, I did, I'll never forget, I did car washes, I did this guy's car wash who just wanted in his car wash, and he wanted to run, just like a Halloween scary thing while people were getting their car washed, and just different random things, not a commercial, but just actually at his car wash. It was, it was cool to get work and to do cool things like that. And I never once thought about the price because I was making money as a voice actor. Now, I will admit to you, I didn't know much of anything about the voiceover industry. And, the group, I had joined a group on Facebook. Well, for starters, I hadn't even really been on social media at that point. I never used social media. And this was 2017, so it's not like social media was new, right? I mean, I just didn't, I wasn't a social media person. I didn't use it. I didn't have apps or anything. I just didn't use them. And then, but at that point, when we work online and we're at the forefront of communication, right? And that's what we do, is communicate messages around the world. Being on social media is important for us now, as voice actors and business owners. So, I started joining some groups, and I happened to join one of my first Facebook groups I was in. Was a good community at the time, and it was very open about being okay with being on Fiverr and being okay with being on ACX and platforms. It's interesting. I think if I had joined a different Facebook group, I really do believe this, and I often say this, right? I think, if I joined a different Facebook group, I don't know if I would have ever gotten on Fiverr, because there are a lot of Facebook groups out there that are it's not as bad as it was. Oh my gosh, back in 2017, it was, and it's funny because Fiverr had been around for 6 or 7 years at that point, anyways, right? But Fiverr, the name of Fiverr has changed so much since then because, of how many people it's actually helped become successful. But, it was so taboo. I mean, people were violent, not violent, but, they used a lot of really strong verbiage on platforms about their hatred towards Fiverr, and Fiverr is destroying everything. The irony of AI now, and and it goes to tell you too, right? It's like, no matter what happens, something always is going to come around that people are going to say is going to destroy the business, no matter where we are. Do you notice that? And just on a side note, that in almost so many things we do, and I think people use that to put a fire behind our butts, or they use that to get reactions. But you notice that everywhere we go, everything's going to be the last, it's the end. It's over. It's the end. You got to make the decision. You got to do it. It's going to, it's going to destroy everything. No, it doesn't destroy everything. But anyway, just on a side note. So, I had been in a group that was really pro Fiverr, and I'm so thankful I was, because it gave me a outlet to be okay with what I was doing. And as I grew, right, I started to become really successful, and people didn't believe me. So what I started doing was I started posting my earnings every month. Because you could take a snapshot of your earnings from Fiverr, whether it's on the app or whatever, and you could post it, and I started posting in the Facebook group. And, I never forget, people were it was amazing because, to that point, no one goes around posting their monthly earnings. But I remember I used to, when I was years and years ago, I remember this guy that I followed. It was Pat Flynn. If you don't know who that is, he runs Smart Passive Income, been around forever. And basically the whole idea was building, websites using affiliate marketing and stuff to build a business. He was a an engineer, I think, or an architect. I can't remember what he was, an engineer or something. And he got let go of his job, and he started, an online kind of business with, education, and then going to affiliate. Anyways, long story short, I had followed this guy for a while, way before I got into voiceover. And what I liked about him is he was the only guy I ever saw that would post his monthly earnings, right? And he would post it to show people, transparency a little bit, because he would say, hey, I did this, and this is how this works, and this generates this. And, and it was transparent. So anyways, point is I started post stuff, and, and more and more people believe me. And then that group kind of dissolved because the person who was running it, they went on to do something different. But I started my own group, and I posted, and now if I don't know if they do this in other groups, but I don't think so. I mean, I think we're still the only group where now we have a lot of people. The end of every month we post earnings, just to show people. It's enough to be accountable too, about what we're doing. And I think it really helps, but it goes to show, right? And what's amazing about it is that all of these places that you can get work on, whether, and all this stuff, I still see the most wealth being created through people on Fiverr. Now, again, I don't work with a lot of people in the union. I don't work with, a ton of people who have been in the industry for 30 plus years, right? And have done, I'm not working with those people. I'm more working with, people in voiceover that might have been in voiceover that are new or been around for about 5 or 10 years. I typically work with those people, which is who I am, right? Because I've been doing voiceover now for 7 years or so. But it's interesting to see that even today, and even what I charge today, because now, I charge something completely different. Like I said, when I first started, it was $5. And then I got to the point where I was making a couple $1,000s a month, and I just didn't have any time anymore to make it. Like physically, I didn't have the time because I was swamped. So I raised my prices to $10. Then I raised it to $15, then to $20, then to $25, then to $30, then to $35, and then $40. I always raised in $5 increments. That was a recommendation from Fiverr. And Fiverr didn't look the same then too. Lots have changed on Fiverr too over the years. All right. Fiverr's changed too, right? The platform and everything's changed. And then it was at $50, right? And then, I decided this past year I'd been a top rated seller for a long time, and I decided to try out Pro. And I went Pro, and you start at $100. So, I charge $100 for 100 words. And then, I charge basically in $150 increments, and the $300 increments for, 1 to 3 month local runs. And then, it goes up from there. And I learned so much as I've grown in the voiceover business about kind of marrying the past with the present. And, looking into the future about how we charge. Right? How we charge people and how people are willing to buy. It's interesting. We can hold on to things, and it's good to have traditions. But at the same time, right, we need to embrace change and look forward and marry the two. We don't have to get rid of traditions, but we can't ignore what people want. And I see this happening some places, and then, and it's everybody's prerogative to run their business the way they want to. But the reality is as times change, right, if we don't change with it, we will get pushed out. Because in the end, we are performers. We are hired by people to perform. And if people want us to perform something, well, then we need to perform what they want, what the society wants, what people are looking for. Because if you don't do that, and it's the same thing with acting, and always this thing is, what does the audience want? Right? What is the audience interested? Right? Are we playing to the audience? Or are we playing for ourselves? Now that's a different it's a different conversation. But all I'm trying to say is that I think that has been a big realization for me, is that marrying the traditions that we have in this industry with what's happening now and what's in the future, especially also in pricing, is very helpful, right? So I think that that's something for me. When I first started, I didn't really understand that, because I didn't know about the industry and about how even, a way to do them both, right? So basically all I did was, everything was charged based on words. And now I still charge based on words, but at the time it was just all based on words. There wasn't a thought about, I still charge commercial and broadcast rights, and boy, did I fight the battle on that one, right? If you're on that platform, especially when you're first starting out, a lot of lower end budgeted people do not want to pay those things because they don't have a lot of money. It's a battle. I fought the battle. It's almost like a proving ground, right? It's like you got to go in there and prove yourself, right? But now, you know what I mean? I look at it this way. I use words as a way to charge a studio fee, right? Which is a recording fee. And that's where I get, 100 words or $100 for 100 words. Now, if you think about that, 100 words, it only takes you a few minutes. So reality, most people would charge $100 for 30 minutes or an hour. $100, $200 for, and now, it goes up, right? It's gone up in years, but still, between $100 for like an hour or so of studio time. And then we charge a licensing fee on top of that, right? That's how traditionally it's worked. And then, there's other options, right? Where you negotiate royalties and stuff, but that's in an industry that's in a part of negotiations and companies and corporations who have a ton of money. And that's what I realized too. So many of these businesses I was working with, they were single proprietors just like me. They were one person somewhere in the world. Majority of my work comes from outside the US too. Over 60% of my work still comes from outside the US. Okay. Do they market in the U.S.? Sure. Do they market outside the U.S.? Yes. They market everywhere, but most of still the majority of my business comes from outside the U.S. And, I realized that most of the work I was doing, although that started to change now a little bit because Fiverr's pushed a different place for pro sellers. But a lot of that work was people like me, just single proprietors trying to grow their own production studio, trying to grow their own video productions, trying to grow their own marketing studio, try to do their own thing, right? Their own freelance businesses. And we were working through each other to grow our stuff, right? And we all played a part. That was something that had never been happening in the voiceover industry until site like Fiverr, because people like single proprietors couldn't afford voiceovers, right? So it opened up an entire industry, which is what AI will do as well. AI will open up a whole new industry of people who never thought about using voiceovers, and they will use voiceovers. We just have to remember we've got to do it better. And don't sell our stuff to AI companies. Don't sell our voices, but we got to be better. All right. So, we're all fighting the fight to make sure that they can't legally take they can't do illegal things. But I'm saying from a legal standpoint, just don't sell your voice and don't be afraid to enter into contracts. That's another wonderful thing about Fiverr. You can enter into your own contract on Fiverr. They recommend it. Okay, where the majority of other platforms, I can't even think of another platform that lets you, that promotes. They have their own contracts. They don't really let you enter into a contract, right? But Fiverr does. It's just, and I think that's something really special. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, as I have gone on and I've raised my prices and stuff, now when I charge, I do 15, 30-second spots for $500 to $1,000 for just a month or two run locally. I get paid what people, say you can't get paid on Fiverr, or that they're not doing that. This year, I got hired by the Minnesota Vikings through Fiverr to do voiceover work for their game trailers for all their games they have this season so far. All right. I got hired again the other night to do a pregame shout out in on Prime Video through Fiverr, right? I get hired to I mean, I've been hired by so many major brands now through Fiverr who pay full rates through Fiverr. When I say full rates, I mean more industry accepted rates of previous years. And it's it's funny because that's not where I started, but it's where I am now, and that's okay. So one, just on a side, don't ever let someone tell you Fiverr is not a place you can't grow an incredible business from. Now, there's so many other places to get work from, and that's what I love too about this. It's not just Fiverr, but the point of this podcast is to open up to you about there's a lot of pressures that go on to us. There's a lot of people who say, oh, don't do that, don't be there, that's awful, they're ruining the voiceover business, it's horrible, those people hate you, you're worth more. I mean, if I make $1,000 for a 15-second local spot that's going to run for a couple of days, I sure to God hope I'm worth more than $1,000 too. Like I hate prescribing to this you're worth more, because your worth is incalculable. What we really need to discuss is your business. What can your business demand? Not you. You can't be paid enough money for your worth. I mean, if anyone suggests that there's money to pay your worth, no. And I get the pushback on that. Okay, well, it's not we're talking about your work. We're talking about, what your time is. I mean, no, I understand. But did you know doctors make on average $90 to $120 an hour? I mean, I wouldn't even take. There would be a cold day, an HE double hockey sticks before I would take that amount of money for an hour. Now, I make so much more money in an hour. It's ridiculous, right? I'm not a doctor. Am I so much better than some man or woman who saves people's lives every day? All right. And I'm not claiming that, one equals the other. All I'm saying is that, and I get the pushback on, well, that's an hour and we have to get jobs. But see, that's another thing that Fiverr changed. People weren't used to being able to rely on bulk work, right? Like on work that you could rely on constantly. People were used to work that came sporadically. So you had to make a lot of money in a short period of time in order to sustain you until the next job, because it wasn't just going to be job after job after job after job. That wasn't that wasn't how the industry worked, because things were so expensive. Right? Remember, you had to pay for, you had to go record in a studio. You had to have engineers. You had to have directors. You had a marketing budget. You had all of this overhead. So these costs were outrageous. You had agents. You had all these things. It's funny because people blamed websites like Fiverr for changing these things. But I think what's really changed our industry was the home studio, right? Technology in the home studio changed everything. Right? Because what you and I can do at home, we don't, and we know that. Look what's happened to the studios. I mean, there was no need for them anymore. There's of course there's studios all over, but we have our home studio. We're able to produce the same quality work as a studio with massive overhead. Now, again, I'm not talking about the talent of the people working at the place. I'm talking about the equipment, what we can do. Right? You don't need to be in a different place. You can work at home. So I just want to press upon you to that story, to give you just kind of a background of thought, and that it's important to not shy away from the things that work because people disagree with you. I always used to say for a long time, because people just didn't say nice things about me because I told people to get work on Fiverr because it was working. It still works. Like, you make money there, right? You do it right, you make a lot of money there. And people did not like that, did not like me for that. And that's okay. It's okay. But I'm just trying to say, like, I realize that none of those people would ever send me a paycheck. So if anybody tells you what not to do, all right, will they ever send you a check for your family or your bills? When they tell you, well, don't do that, you can't go there. That's ruining everyone's lives. Don't do that. No. No, they won't. They won't send you any money. All right? And then when you're pressed upon how can you make money, so much of it is, well, you got to pay your dues, you got to try this, cross your fingers, hope for the best. It's not, you know what I mean? So I think I've learned that there are many ways that you can chart your path in this business. And you have to find the way that works best for you, that you like the most. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do it, because you can. Okay? And it's been wonderful over these past 7 years to prove that a site like Fiverr and these websites do work really well. And I've been blessed to work with so many and coach so many people who still make so much money on the platform. And it's still the number one place to get started on, hands down. It still is. It hasn't changed. And in fact, I think they've picked up market share. Upwork, no offense to Upwork, but they're kind of more in shambles now with their voiceover business. Their voiceover offerings. And sites like Voices being right, and that whole debacle and all the stuff that's gone on with these sites. Fiverr has continued to grow and be strong, right? Anyways, those are my thoughts today. I wanted to share with you. I was thinking about that and come across, boy, you know me, boy, it's over almost 36 minutes of me talking. If you stuck around, you are incredible. Incredible. Thank you guys as always. Don't be afraid to leave a comment and share this and all wherever you can. I really appreciate it as always. You're amazing. Thank you guys for listening. Check out, and I think the big thing too, I talk about VO's Journey Elite Academy, right? Is I wanted to create a safe place for people to go to be a part of a community, to learn about voiceover and to have honest conversations and coaching about how to grow your voiceover and actually get legitimate results, not pie in the sky theory results, right? Not it takes you 15 to 20 years to build a business in voiceover, right? That's not what I'm interested in. I'm not saying, 15, 20 years. It still takes you a couple of years to grow a business, but not 15 to 20 years. That's outrageous. To get launched your business, it shouldn't take that long. And I think it's important to keep letting people know, especially people who are trying to grow their business and not getting that support. So check out VO's Journey Elite Academy if you're looking for that support and you haven't had it yet. We're launching a new curriculum this coming up January, which I'm so excited about. We have a whole new assessment system to help people where they are. Just really doing a lot of fantastic stuff and offering a lot of support and great community. So there's a link as always there. You can check it out on avosjourney.com. Thank you guys for listening. As always, you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Wednesday and a great holiday. Talk to you all soon. Peace.